You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Friday the 1st of June. Yet another sham marriage frowned out. Thousands of illegals set free to safeguard their human rights. Former newspaper mogul charged with 20-year-old rape of underage girl. Smartphone scheme that promised £125 million in savings yields just 600,000. From the belly of the beast with Nick Griffin, MEP. Americans burn down unwanted mosque. Thought for the day: human rights, and is there such a thing as a wanted mosque in Western society? UK news. A Nigerian immigrant has been jailed over a sham marriage where he met the bride only once and that was it. Unbelievable, but true. Nigerian-born Samuel Olufemi James was arrested in Derby in March this year for arranging with a fixer to marry a Portuguese prostitute. The border agency swooped on the Nigerian when he applied to stay in the United Kingdom. The fixer, Oscar Prata, an Angolan-born Portuguese citizen, recruited European women who needed money, such as prostitutes and drug users, and he was jailed along with James. The Portuguese prostitute was not charged over that crime, as Prata has targeted her because she was vulnerable. She was arrested immediately after that bogus wedding, which took place at St John the Divine Church in Willenhall, Coventry, on June 30th, 2009. She was paid €2,000 for her part in the crime and never saw her groom again. James changed his name to Adede and moved area with a partner and child. It is thought he will be deported after he has served his sentence. One World at 8 reporter commented, "Why wait? Why not deport him and his family immediately?" Thousands of illegal immigrants are being freed to safeguard their human rights. 1,665 immigration detainees were granted bail last year, of which 277 absconded, meaning they must be caught a second time at huge cost to the taxpayer. A vast number of illegal immigrants are bailed after being detained because they can and do cite Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, which gives them the right to family and private life, meaning courts are forced to let them go pending appeals. When trying to deport an illegal immigrant, officials can either start legal proceedings or, in some cases, offer people bribes to go home. The illegals have devised a strategy of destroying documents and changing names, so that it is virtually impossible to find out where that immigrant comes from. Often it is through several non-immigration countries. Our immigration service could not pay out on the compensation claims these illegals would make, so they get lost. Many become criminals and live off the dark side of the economy, contributing towards the leap in crimes such as rapes and sham marriages, to name just a few. One World at 8 reporter commented, "I believe the actual figures to be much higher. There is a huge number of illegals who are not detained but come in unchallenged. Once they are here, it would take armies of dedicated people to root them out and deport them. The UK is, at the moment, a safe haven for the dross of the world." Former newspaper mogul Eddie Shah has been charged with raping a girl in her early teens 20 years ago. He is facing charges of 9 accounts of rape and gross indecency with a child under 14. He allegedly assaulted the child when she was between 12 and 15 in the 1990s. 2 others, which include a woman of 52 who cannot be named, are said to have arranged for Shah to rape the girl. Shah, who is now a property developer in Wiltshire, will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court next Thursday. One World at 8 reporter said, "We appear to have a case of Muslim grooming that is very old. The disturbing thing is this merited just a small paragraph in a daily towards the back page, and this man was famous. He founded 2 national newspapers, which are of course now closed." £70 million police smartphone scheme promised £125 million in savings yields just £600,000. The plan was to spend £71 million on 41,000 BlackBerry phones for police officers, but the committee found that in some forces nobody has a device, while in others every officer and support staff member has one. Committee chairman Margaret Hodge, of Barking and Dagenham fame, acknowledged although some forces have used the devices to improve efficiency, most have not. Going on to say, the department and agency does not know why. Not enough attention has been paid to outcomes. The programme was supposed to contribute £125 million to cashable savings by the police service. There now follows the Euro News from the belly of the beast with Nick Griffin, MEP.
I'm recording this for you today, not in Brussels or Strasbourg, but in the fine, though poverty-afflicted, English city of Liverpool. I'm here to support a constituent of mine, Clive Jefferson, who was in court earlier today for the crime of handing out leaflets about Muslim paedophile gangs. The problem isn't the contents of the leaflets. We put out scores of thousands of them, and they're completely legal. They're sensibly worded, and urge people to blame not the innocent majority in the Muslim community, who are not child rapists, but the British establishment, including the police, courts, politicians and media elite, who facilitated these shocking crimes by their cowardice and their silence. So even the police in Liverpool didn't object to our people having the leaflets. They only wanted to stop us handing them to sympathetic members of the public. Aren't we deeply fortunate not to live in a police state? Clive was, as usual, leading from the front at a British National Party demonstration outside Liverpool Crown Court on the day that 9 Pakistanis were jailed for their crimes against dozens of English girls. His arrest sparked outrage amongst passers-by, who bravely pushed their way past police officers to pick up the leaflets that Clive threw towards them as he was handcuffed and bundled away by a group of officers who'd been ordered to, quote, cuff him and get him into the van before the media get here, unquote. So activists from the East and West Midlands, Wales, Lancashire and Cumbria came together to support Clive and to stand up for our fundamental rights to express our political views. Indeed, this is a matter of principle now. It's not just about our rights, but about the rights of every British citizen. Because freedom is indivisible. Either everyone is free to express their opinions, or freedom dies. If it is granted selectively, to only groups and opinions at present on some kind of approved list, then it's not freedom at all, but licence from an overmighty state. You don't have to be sympathetic to the British National Party to understand the vital principle at stake here. Whatever your political persuasion, imagine how you would feel if you went into your town centre with sensible, moderately worded leaflets about the issue you care about the most, and started to hand them out to interested and supported members of your community, but were then manhandled and carted away by aggressive police officers and charged with a criminal offence. That's why we were back in Liverpool, to campaign for the rights to freedom of assembly, freedom of association and freedom of speech, which are the very bedrock of the democracy for which generations of our bravest and our best have sacrificed their lives. Freedom is not free. Both in the past and still today, you have to fight for it. Still on the subject of demonstrations and justice, don't forget the national activity in Blackpool on Saturday the 9th starting at noon. Although I and many key big colleagues will be there, this is a non-party political day of action in which the organisers welcome everybody who really cares about protecting children from sexual predators and drawing attention to the failure of the out-of-touch elite to do so. The day starts with a Justice for Charlene Downs demonstration outside the newly reopened takeaway, still owned by one of the 2 men previously tried for her grooming, abduction and murder. Then we will move on to a meeting of Profam, where plans will be unveiled for a summer of action and a campaign for a public inquiry into the failure of the police, courts, media and political elite to deal with the grooming problem properly. We will also be there exploring new ways to build practical, grassroots, local campaigns against the grooming gangs who are still allowed to operate unaffected in most areas. Charlene's mother, who has been slapped with a police order to keep away from the men the police believe murdered her daughter, will be among the speakers. Imagine how much it will mean to her to have your support there on the day, to demonstrate where she is banned from demonstrating, and then to support and applaud her courage in refusing to surrender to the police pressure on her to be silent. If you really can't make it yourself, then please contact your local organiser and give a donation towards the fuel for other activists to come and join us. If you're not in touch, then do it online on this website. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday week as we send the clearest possible message to the corrupt and out-of-touch elite. Stop the Pakistani gangs, or we will. Justice for Charlene Downs.
Breaking news. Clive Jefferson has been bailed to appear on September the 10th. World news. Mosque building in the United States has been under fire from American citizens. A mosque in West Wichita, severely damaged in late October, has been deemed to be arson, it was reported last Thursday. A $5,000 reward has been put up to catch the arsonist. The mosque, which was the first formal mosque in Kansas, opened in 1978, was damaged to the tune of $120,000. Thought for the day. Well, this Human Rights Act Section 8 is working marvellously for all the illegal immigrants and human refuse of the world, isn't it? Aren't we all glad that our government at that time adopted this European law of utter crap? It must be the only law in Europe that works against the indigenous people of that country and in favour of scum, because people who leave their own countries for greed are just that. I do not believe in one instant that all the illegal immigrants come over here to escape famine and war. If some do, it is because thousands of their own people have left their country during the last 20 years and it has become a living hell. If people give up on their own country, why should they be allowed to invade another? If they haven't done well with their own land, what are they going to do with ours? Answers on a postcard, please. So we have the situation where our hard-pressed and laid-back border agencies find it easier and cheaper to let these buggers loose in the UK. Great, and why? Because in a trice these men obtain bogus partners, multiple children, to imitate family life. Didn't they have a family life back home? We have a black female Ugandan living not far enough away from me to make me happy. She has obtained social housing, and for the last 2 years she has been bringing a succession of black children over at varying intervals. Now whether these are hers or hired ones for the handouts I do not know and care even less, but it could only happen in a socialist country with a guilt complex. What are people from countries that have no ties with us now doing over here? Even in my little shopping centre every other face is now Nepalese. Did we ever have this many Gurkhas in the British Army? These people should be living on British pensions in their villages and contributing towards the Nepalese economy, not taking out of ours. Okay, rant over, but I'm sick and tired of anyone who is sick and tired of seeing their country overrun, being branded racist or worse. That is, if there is any word worse nowadays in the English language, of course. Now briefly to America and their unwanted mosques. They firebomb theirs. In one news report the caretaker of that mosque said, "It is a hate crime and this is our country." Well mateys, if you want unwanted mosques and a religion that thinks everyone owes it a living, come to the UK. Only in this country we are practically building them ourselves for the Muslim invaders. I did a much publicised stint in Fareham against a huge mosque being built there, and most of the local population did not know about it. We had a copy of the plans to show them. Even though we did just that, many people were shocked, but I was shocked when I was called a liar to my face. We endured an entire hour of being harangued by a very nasty, loud woman who, more or less said, "They can build all the mosques they like, I think they are pretty," etc, etc, etc. I was less than polite to her backside as she finally retreated. I had even shown her the plans and she still said it was a lie. What do you do when faced with hatred and ignorance in the wrong direction? It seems in the South East that we are so untouched by immigration that we are out of touch with the rest of the UK. I hope for our sakes we are not, because the problem of immigration is coming down here to roost and it will not be pretty at all. The Yanks have the advantage over us. They do have the right to defend themselves. We do not. The only people who have the human right to defend themselves are the criminals, the immigrants and the poor farmers who are busy selling their land to build the sodding mosques on in the first place because the Jewish owners of the big supermarkets will not pay the right prices for goods. A bit of a vicious circle here, I feel. In the States they have a body called the Interfaith Coalition on Mosques, ICOM, which fight with considerable funds the rights of Muslims only to build mosques whenever and wherever they like. On the committee I counted 2 white Anglicans, 1 Roman Catholic, 2 Muslim Arabs, 1 Muslim Pakistani and 3 Jewish guys. A white reverend was the president of the well-funded gaggle. Their statement of purpose is, working as the National Interfaith Coalition on Mosques under the sponsorship of the Anti-Defamation League, our purpose is to assist Muslim communities who are being denied permission to build mosques in their neighbourhoods. Lovely. We should be more like the Spanish, who as soon as a mosque is planned in their village, they bury a dead pig in that ground and of course the mosque is never built. But are we? No. We are an obedient people. If we are told it is nasty not to like someone or something, we usually reverse think, which is of course the way the establishment likes it. So that when the left-wing anarchists and nihilists riot, all nationalists are put in that vat and stirred, and when the blacks riot it is because of us causing racial tension, and when the Muslims protest, as they inevitably do, again it is because us nationalists are being naughty and telling it as it is. Don't you love England? What would happen if all us nationalists emigrated to sunnier and more welcoming climes and left the liberal left to their own devices? The UK would become another third world country that all the recent immigrants would try to leave and go back home. Now that is a thought for the Jubilee weekend, isn't it? And finally, a detective sergeant has been jailed for raping a woman in her own home. Detective Sergeant Trevor Gray forced his way into the woman's home after he took her to her front door after offering to take her for a drink. He soon returned and forced the chain on the door, then raped her while her child was asleep in the other room. Gray was given a very light sentence of 8 years by the judge. One reporter commented he won't qualify for the Black Police Association now. This World at 8 presenter says he probably will. You have been listening to the World at 8. I am Lynn Mozar, and I and the team at Radio Britain wish you all a very happy and safe bank holiday weekend. We also extend the best of wishes to Her Royal Majesty and every happiness in her Diamond Jubilee celebration.